I'm going to take this decades-old extension cord and make it absolutely perfect. It's served a good life, but I want to resurrect it and make it the perfect extension cord. All the components are ready, and I'll show you some alternate versions that you can use to perfectly fit your needs. At the heart of our build here is the extension cord itself. This wire is very supple and soft. It works great as an extension cord to snake around your stuff, and this is actually 12-3. Now, this is different than Romex or home wiring, where with Romex, for example, 12-3 would mean 12 is the gauge, so it's 0.08 inches thick, and that's the same here. But the 3 in this case refers to how many insulated wires there are inside. This only has 3 wires total, so it has your hot, your neutral, and your ground, but all 3 are insulated. Most 12-3s in your home wiring, for example, like Romex, don't include the ground wire because it's not insulated. So this stuff is really great, and we're going to use this as the base. Now, if you don't have something like this to start from, I'll put some links in the description below where you can get the proper length for this. And this is a big old pile, so I'm actually going to show you some great ways that you can cheaply and effectively store all of this to use as much or as little as you need for just a few bucks. Now, I've done a lot of research on how to make this thing perfect, and I stumbled across this, which I think is going to be the best bet. Now, this here is the Sigma outlet box, and there's a few reasons why this is superior to most of what you'll see out there today. Number one, this is aluminum, so it's all solid metal. In addition, it's only got 3 holes in the whole thing. So you've got one here, you've got one on the back, and then one on the other side, and it comes with 2 plugs for those, which is really nice. I'm going to seal off 2 of these holes with the included plugs, and I'll put a bit of silicone around those to make sure they're nice and watertight. And that's the other thing. This thing is completely weatherproof. This whole project that we're going to do today will be weatherproof. So you can drag this thing through the rain and the mud. It'll hold up just fine. I'm going to retire this wire here, which I actually inherited from my grandfather, which I think is so cool. Now, in case you're curious, the reason I'm actually using this and going to take this apart a little bit is because I started to experience some arcing right here, and I've got some loose connections, and this thing hasn't been functioning properly. So I want to fix this, and to start with that, I'm going to cut off this old cord and get rid of this altogether. Inside here are the 3 insulated wires that I need to expose, and I picked up a cool trick from Stud Pack, who has a video on making an extension cord that I drew a lot from, and he said he took the cord, bent it like this, and then just gently rocked it a little bit back and forth on a blade. There we go. So I'm just barely scoring this really lightly. There we go, and then you can see right there it just broke, and then I can kind of follow that along, being careful not to cut into the other wires. There we go. Kind of just wants to come apart once you start it like that. And then once we've got that, should be able to pull that off. There we go. You can see they're all twisted inside, and then we've got some paper here as filler and insulation. I'm just going to strip some of the end of each of these. I'm going to use my Nip-X here, but you can use anything you need. And then what we're going to use on the end here is a lighted replacement plug. Now, everything in this kit that I'm going to be showing you today is 15 amp 125 volt, and that includes this. And I chose this one because I love when you plug something in, it lights up right away. You know that the outlet is good, and there's no questions. It's just one less thing to troubleshoot. So inside here, we've got 3 screws, 1 for each of our wires, and it's just a matter of fitting those right into here. Now, you don't want to forget to slide the back piece on first, because if you don't, then you're going to regret that later and have to take everything apart. So I'm going to slide that up, and then I've got these way too long. So I need to cut these. Cut 2. Now with those 3 exposed, I'm ready to put them into my plug, and there's a whole bunch of sayings that I've heard. What I've always remembered is the first letter, so black to brass. And so I want to make sure that I put my black or my hot wire with the brass. And I'm just seeing here, there's actually a little bit of insulation paper inside the insulation of each of these wires. So I'm just going to break that off gently. I'll twist these a little bit to try to keep them more like one solid wire. Actually, I'm going to stop right here because I think this is actually on backwards. So typically you're going to have these 3 in the right orientation for one side or the other. Or in other words, when I look at this, I've got green, then hot, then neutral. And if I try to put this on here, if I put my ground, my green in here, then my neutral and my hot are backwards, which tells me I'm on the wrong end of the cord here. This is how it was already, so I just assumed that was right, but it's actually wrong. So I'm going to go to the other end, clip that off, and that's the end that actually should have the male plug on it. Now, to illustrate what I was talking about a minute ago, if I now put the green one in on this side, look at that, the brass lines up right here. for the hot, and then the neutral lines up next to it. So now I know I've got the right end of the cord. It was inverted before, so maybe I can improve something that my grandpa did all those years ago. There we go. Nice and tight. Okay, that is nice and super tight right there, so I'm not worried about that coming apart. And I did just what I said I shouldn't do. I forgot to put the housing on first, so let me redo that. And I'm going to slide each of them in at the same time. That'll be a little bit easier this time. Learn a little bit from my last mistakes here. All right, so that is really on there well, not going anywhere. Fantastic. Now I can take these three and line up their screws. And these have a particular pattern too, typically. So you actually can't put it in wrong. There we go, like that. And we'll nail that coffin shut. And so I'm going to put one on one side, one on the other. So we end up with something like this. And then I just need to drive in my screws. So you can see here that it's definitely biting into it. It's going to hold it on there good, but I'm not tightening it down to the point of cutting it off or risking cutting the actual wires themselves. But I've got a nice tight end in here, and then it's also lighted up when I plug it in. Another thing I really like about this particular box is that it's got 3/4 inch NPT threads on it. So I can take a strain relief like this, I can just thread this thing in like so. There we go, and it's on there really tight, and that forms a waterproof seal right around it, just like that. Now I've purchased this strain relief specifically to fit this wire. I measured the thickness of this, it's 0.59, and I wanted to make sure that this hole would fit it properly. So I've got links in the description that you can check out, and you can order the right size for these. And all of this stuff I got off Amazon, by the way, so none of this was special order or anything too tricky. I'm gonna feed that on there first, like so, and we should be good. And that's the other cool thing about this particular setup, is this will tighten down on the wire as you squeeze it, as you thread it. But if I need to release the wire and get more feed in there, for example, I can unthread it and then adjust it. There we go. All right, that is not going anywhere, okay? So that is nice and strong. It's got a little rubber sleeve in there that's grabbed onto it, which is awesome. Now for the guts that go inside this is the part where it's totally up to you how you want to do this. But what I opted to go with, I specifically selected a couple of outlets that I thought would work really well. In fact, let me start with the other one first here. This is the GFCI. What I really wanted was a light like this one on the other end, the end that I'm going to see and use. Since I didn't have that option, I went with this that is a night light built into the GFCI, so I can see really quickly and easily. Now the other outlet I went with, and again this is a little specific towards my use case, but I've got this duplex outlet, and this has the Quick Charge 3.0 built into it, so I can plug in my phone and in a half hour I can get 50% charge on it, which is awesome. On the other side, I've got a straight USB-C port, so I've got both options on there. And again, these are easy enough to swap out down the road if you need to, but this is the setup that I think works best for me. Now for wiring, here's my super high-tech drawing that I did on the computer, but the gist of it is we need to connect all of the grounds together and to the terminal box here, or the junction box itself. And then we're gonna feed everything into the GFCI first, and once we've got those connected there, then the downstream of that one will be this outlet here. There's two parts here. There's my line and my load. And again, pulling up this diagram, if you look at the word line, it's got inside of it. That means that's your incoming power. And the load has the O, and the O stands for out, is one way to remember it. I've always found that to be easy. So with the ground, we actually need a couple of extra wires because I want to secure it to my ground inside the box here. So in order to do that, what I'll use is one of my Wago lever nuts here. So I'm going to open up a few of these, and I'm going to connect one of them in. There we go. There, now that's in there. And again, once you put that little orange lever down, it doesn't go anywhere. That thing's on there nice and snug. So then I've cut beforehand some 12 gauge wire, some bare wire here. So I'm going to fit one of those in. So one is going to go to the terminal screw in here, and then I'm going to do two more, one for each outlet. A little tug test or pull test on each of these, make sure they're seated in there really well, and that's it. This is good. So for the green ground on my GFCI, I'm going to feed one of these in and then tighten it down. So to do the shepherd's hook on this, I'm going to use my Milwaukee here This is a 7-in-1, and this actually comes with a little loop for doing the hooks, which is, I think, just really a smart idea. So I can feed it in like that, make my hook, and I'm good to go. Actually, I'm going to save that for later. I'll probably do that one last. Now, nobody is sponsoring this video, but I do have some cool products that you can check out if you want to help support this channel. There's also channel memberships below, and you can use any of the links in the description to buy some of the products that I've shown here. That also helps support the channel. But did you know I've got hoodies and shirts for DIYers? Shirts like this, hopefully you get the joke, right? I've also got shirts like this, and this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. Wait, no, that's definitely not one of mine. And this hoodie, and this hoodie, and this hoodie, and this one. And I'm feeling pretty fat at this point. All kinds of shirts and hoodies, so if you're a DIYer or know someone who is, maybe get a gift for them, get a gift for yourself. You deserve it. All right, so now that I've got my line connected to my GFCI, it's time to connect my load, which is the outgoing, to the next one. And then I'm gonna slide black to brass here, and then lastly our silver, which is our neutral. Now we just need to connect our ground and our neutral and hot to the other outlet, and this thing will be wired up, as well as the ground to the terminal box. And I'm just realizing that, look what I've got here. I've got a little bit of screw sticking out there, barely, and a little bit of screw sticking out here, barely, and there's potential for contact in there. Now once these are seated in place, they'll be fine, but I think I will throw a little electrical tape in here just because they're going to be in close proximity to one another. I don't want any sparking happening there. Before I do that, I'm going to connect my ground wire. Okay. Now at this point, I've got a lot of extra wire. Let's see if you can see that. Right back in here in the box, probably hard to see, but I've got too much. I don't need all of that. So I can, now that, because this is still loose, I can pull that out to the amount I need, tighten it in place. There we go, that's on really tight again. And that just freed up some space for me to put these wires back down inside where they need to go. The other thing you might have noticed is I've already taken the screws out of the two ends of each of the outlets, and that's because of this next part. Now at this point, this thing is really close to being done, but before I seal this up and put the covers on and everything, I want to test it out so that I don't finish it all up, test it, and then find out it's not working, take it apart and troubleshoot. So I might as well test it while it's open like this. I've got my outlet tester here. This thing is awesome. I highly recommend these because it tests for ground, it tests for GFCI, and it has a display that tells you how many volts are coming through, which is perfect. So I'm gonna plug in my one end here to an outlet. Oh, look at that, nice green light. And then let's plug this thing in and see what we've got. Let me go ahead, because there's no power to this one yet, let's hit reset. There we go, and 123 volts AC, and it's correct. So it's good to go. It's got a GFCI test, so I'm gonna test that out real quick here. Okay, that pops it. So good there. Again, 123 and good. Okay, 123, correct. So 122 and correct. We're all set. So I'm gonna unplug it. Now we're ready to close this thing up. So these screws are gonna go through the faceplates here, through the foam, through the outlet and into the box itself and hold it all together. Okay, once I've got those four in, but I'm just gonna take this and slide all four screws through. Okay, so all four of these are now in place, so I can just focus on tightening it down. Let's test this out and see if our lighting works. As I open it up, you can quickly see that you've got light in there. And of course, you've got your little light right here that most GFCIs do have, so if you're not sure, you can always check that. Ta-da! Looking pretty good, but we're not done yet. There's more work we still want to do on this guy, and there's two little add-ons that I'm going to show you to make this thing even better. So we're in the home stretch now. We've got our box here ready to go, and the next tip is we're going to use this piece of plywood here. This is some 1/2-inch ply, and we're going to use this to create a little base for this that has 4 big benefits. So as I place this on here, the first benefit is I'm going to trace it in such a shape that this thing can't get snagged around corners. Right here, it's gonna easily get snagged onto something. Like I can picture this getting stuck on the foot of my table saw, for example, and I don't wanna deal with that. So I'm gonna trace first the shape of the box itself, and then from there, we can shape the rest of it. So what we'll do is we'll put a little point like this that will come off, and that way if anything gets caught right in here, it can go around. And then on that note, we're going to make this rounded like this roughly, and that way this will take all of the blows if this thing's moving around and it won't get caught or stuck on anything. So that's the second advantage. The third thing is that when you need to use this one-handed, you can do that really easily. So let's say, for example, you've got a bunch of stuff in one hand, you need to unplug something from this. All you do, step right here on the board with one foot, and then you can pull. That'll hold the thing down. And then lastly, we're going to paint this so that it's nice and bright, and it will serve as a trip hazard protection basically, so that you can easily see this thing. It won't blend into the floor or the surroundings, and gives it that much more visibility for safety's sake. So the last thing I'm going to do has to do with this 5-gallon bucket here, and that is for storage and ease of access basically. This is a big set of wire here, a big spool of it. So I'm going to actually coil this inside the bucket here, and once I finish putting my plate on here, I'll put this in on top, and that way I can have this sticking out on the floor, or I can just leave it in the bucket if I want to. And then from there, I'm going to cut a little hole in the side here, and then we'll feed the plug end right here. We'll feed this out the side, so that'll come out here like this, and then you can pull out as much as you need to, and then wind it back up and keep it inside here. And then whenever you need this thing, you don't have to grab the spool, just grab the handle and take it with you wherever you need to go, and just makes things that much easier. Now, despite having a GFCI included in here, I don't actually have one at the base where I'm plugging it in, and that's actually more important and up to code than having it on this side here. So to remedy that, if you want to, you can use a GFCI extension like this. But this is meant to be plugged directly into your outlet, and then the other end here can have up to 3 extension cords or cables plugged into it and still be up to code. We now have a super durable outlet, the ultimate extension cord, and all the little bells and whistles for your tools as well as your devices. So pretty nice. Now it also doubles as a super crappy ping pong racket if you need one of those. Now if you're a DIYer like me, there's a few mistakes that we tend to make as DIYers when we're wiring outlets like these. So to catch those 6 most common mistakes, check out this video right here. I'm Nils with Learn to DIY. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.